want to welcome everyone to bizmarketing.com's webinar for today, getting your business ready for 2022. My name is Chris Goldman. I'm a messaging and strategist specialist, and we are joined here by people coming in from Business Networking International, as well as friends and clients that we have. And we want to encourage you, first of all, to make sure that you have opened up your planning PDF for today, your planning worksheet. That's going to go, it's going to work nicely for today. You can take notes on it. You can open up. You can physically print it out if you'd like to. We want to encourage you to just work with what works for you today as we go through. And we're going to spend about 30 minutes here, but we are also joined, especially welcoming our founder and president, Mr. Pete Wilson. So Pete, why don't you tell us what we're going to be covering today and introduce, if you will, your team that's with you today.
You bet. Thanks, Chris. So first of all, just a quick reminder here, open the planning sheet. You should have received that via email. If you didn't, we'll just let us know and we'll send you out a new copy. So today we're covering the 4 essentials to marketing, getting your business ready for 2022. Obviously, we're already in 2022. I've found that most businesses think about planning for the year in January. So today we're joined by Chris Goldman. Chris is our messaging expert. So he does a lot of marketing messaging work with businesses and strategy work as well. So that's Chris Goldman. You may hear me refer to him as Goldman. That's kind of his nickname. And we're also joined by Emily Cadell. She is our director of marketing, and she is also a social media expert and really pays attention to everything that's happening in that space and just really has her finger on the pulse of that. And then we have our web designer, or our designer, graphic designer, Kyle Rhodes. He is our design expert, and he is also a bit of a branding expert, logos, websites, print, and other types of creative work that he does. And then finally, I'll be wrapping up with what it takes to stand out in online with an SEO strategy in 2022. So I think we should go ahead and get started. And our first speaker is Chris Goldman, and he is going to talk about messaging in 2022. Take it away, Chris.
Sure. Yeah, this is a big deal because language, unlike a lot of things, well, I guess everything changes and shifts and molds, but messaging is really important because language is constantly changing. And I want to talk about that a little bit as we are looking at putting COVID in the rearview mirror. We hope more and more we're seeing from today's news. New York and Los Angeles are starting to announce that they're starting to see significant drops in their COVID spread. The UK yesterday and today lifted all of their masks and their regulations, and Americans likewise. We are all ready to get back to whatever norm is going to be, right? That's where we're all at. But in the 2021 election, what they found is Philip Stutz began to look in and dig into the data that COVID, even during the fall, had already dropped to 4th or 5th on the Americans' current concerns. They're mainly concerned about the economy. They're concerned about their work, what they're going to be doing. And we want to make sure that we're keeping our website language current in that regard. For example, if you still have a banner up there that says, hey, open during COVID, you really need to think about if that makes you look like you're living in the past. And you really want to ask, when should I keep that banner up? For example, if I'm a company that does in-home service for people, I go into people's homes, I probably want to keep that banner up and maybe modify it a little bit. However, if I'm a you come to me retail, or if I'm a service that you come to, most people are going to assume that you're open during COVID unless something strange is going on. So really make sure that that's updated and stay current with your banners. And you also want to begin thinking about language and the way that language evolves constantly. For example, the terms salty, extra, transitioning, flex, and point of sale, or POS, has really changed a lot of its meaning over the last 2 or 3 years. I'm just going to give you one example on this. For example, if we were to say, we want to announce that Pete Wilson is transitioning, well, that means something different in common everyday usage today than it did even 5 years ago. So we want to make sure that we're keeping that up to date. A good way to do this, by the way, is to grab somebody that's in their 20s or early 30s and have them read through your website and note down every time they start chuckling because it seems like you're using a term out of context today. And they'll let you know. Trust me, they will let you know. And that's a good way to do that. Also, you want to make sure that your language on your website and in your advertising is very dense and good language. Because as people are using their mobile devices more and more and more to look at your website, that amount of language that you're putting on your website has to constantly constrict, because people are not going to keep swiping over and over and over to go through it. And how often, here's a question we're asking, how often do you intentionally consider the messages your company is communicating, and be thinking about that? Now, the last thing I want to bring up here in this language and messaging piece is simply this, is that inflation is impacting everything. One thing that we know in marketing is your empathy for your customers always needs to lead your authority in the field in which you work. So you want to make sure that you're empathizing in your language online so that your clients who are really frustrated with inflation and unsure of what it's going to create for them, that they're hearing that you get that. This is a way that you can answer the objection ahead of time. For example, we know that costs are increasing and everyone is paying more, but you still get what you pay for. That's why we're offering payment options, keeping quality high and affordable. It's one way to approach it, to let people know we know it costs, we're not going to compromise on quality, but here's our way to address that in your setting. That's what we're talking about on messaging. Now we want to turn towards branding. Branding and design is all about Kyle's world as our designer. So Kyle, teach us and tell us what we need to know for branding in 2022.
Sweet. Yes, I want to talk a little bit about just the ever increasing importance of a polished brand presence online. So first off, your branding, it matters more than ever. And one of those reasons is because people at the end of the day, they will judge a book by its cover. And those touch points and those interactions you have online are quick, and people will make an instant judgment of, is this a credible company or is this not? So you really need to make that good first impression. And then number two, today, as people are searching online, they're looking for companies that they can trust. Mm-hmm. And a way that they do that is by connecting on a personal level, and the way that you solve their problems, and in a way that they can see that, wow, this is a real person. They seem approachable, and it's not just a bunch of stock photos or like just really generic online presence. You want to have a personal touch to your online identity when it comes to your website as well as social media, which Emily will talk about more as well. So the question I want to ask is, does your brand connect with customers in a unique and personal way? So just something to keep in mind always as you're thinking about branding online. And then the second point I want to talk about is how you got less than 15 seconds to make that first impression. Right now, attention spans are at an all-time low. It's a short transactional experience on the web most of the time. They want to get what they need quickly, and if they're not finding it, they're going to go somewhere else. Yeah, you only have 15 seconds or less often to do that. So what you need to do is quickly communicate 3 things on your website. And this is just the bare minimum for any website. It's what you do, number 1, and how to do business with you. This is really, that second point is the one that gets overlooked a lot of times. It needs to be so clear that it can never be missed, that call to action, how to do business, how to make contact with your company.
So is that, Kyle, would that mean what we're talking about here would be having a phone number, very visible,
exactly,
having a contact form, or a button to your contact page, just very obvious, right?
Yeah, you want it to be right at the top. You want it to not be able to be missed, especially on mobile. A lot of times things get pushed down if you're not careful. So
Sometimes on mobile things get covered up. If you look at a website on a desktop, you can see the phone number. I've noticed some, when it goes on mobile, it covers the top menu gets covered up and you can't see the phone number.
yeah,
So
it
you kind
becomes
of have to check
nested.
that, right?
And then the third point you need to communicate within 15 seconds is why to choose your company. And so that means the benefits of doing business with your company, as well as the stakes of choosing not to do business with your company. So you need to communicate both those points within 15 seconds in order to really stand out online. So yeah, so my question is, how do you think your business does in regard to communicating those 3 points? What you do, how to do business with you, and then why to choose your company. And then my final point I want to talk about regarding design is how mobile matters more in 2022. We mentioned just a second ago that your mobile experience can differ greatly from your desktop experience when it comes to a website. And today, upwards of 60% of website traffic is from people using a mobile phone. So the majority of people will be on their phone. So you need to make sure that first impression is really just as good or better on the phone. And so that number is only going to go up in 2022.
We one of the things I'll mention here, Kyle, is we see for people who are buying ads on Google, upwards of 80% of the website traffic to their website is coming from a mobile phone.
Exactly. So that definitely varies by industry, but we've seen, yeah, definitely high percentage of people on mobile. And so we talk about mobile optimization, and that means that your website is just, it fits perfectly on mobile, and it's another problem with that is Google is going to ding your website and not even get found on Google if you're not mobile optimized. It's the bare minimum for a website today in 2022. So,
and one of the things you want to do with that Kyle is so great at is you actually, when you design your site, you want to get several mobile devices out. Make sure you have at least one Android, one Apple, and have people look at it and see. I was talking with a person, a business owner the other day, and I said, hey, I can't find your contact button anyway. And they said, oh, well, it's right here. And on mobile, you had to scroll down about 5 times to get to the direct call to action and the information that you need to contact them. It's a big problem. So make sure you're checking that out. Okay, so our next piece, thanks, Kyle. Our next piece is about social media. And we want to look at Emily from Boston, Massachusetts, and to talk to us, how do we need to foster our relationships and brand loyalty through the marketing of social? And Emily, take it away. Talk to us.
Sure. Yeah. So more than ever, experience with your company matters more. So consumers really care more about the experience that they're going to have with you rather than the product or service that your business is selling. So say you're a roofing company, you're more than likely selling the exact same service as other roofing companies. But what can set you apart is the experience that someone will have with you if they choose to work with you rather than a different company. So this is what people want to see on social media. They know that if you're a roofer, you're going to provide them with a roofing service. But how can you set yourself apart and really show that you are going to give your customers value if they choose to work with you? And people are willing to pay more money if they know that you will give them a more valuable experience, and that they'll walk away from working with your company and actually feel good about working with you rather than frustrated. So I think you can really highlight that on social media, and that's really important for you to do to really create some brand loyalty.
I think
yeah,
one thing I was going to mention, Emily, the cool thing about this is this applies to any business who has customers, right? Or organization. Could be a church, nonprofit, right? It's like this applies across the board.
Oh yeah. No matter what you do, no matter what you provide, people want to know why they should work with you, rather than any other company that they could choose. So one of the ways you can do this is really working on your authentic voice. So you really can't outsource authenticity. I mean, us or other marketing companies can post for you on social media, and that's great, but you also need an internal staff member who can do this for you as well. People really know when you're providing them with an authentic voice, and we're not there. We're not in your company every day. We don't know your ins and outs and every staff member that you have, but your staff members do. So this is a great way to really connect with customers on social media, is just assigning a current staff member to post fun updates, fun content, talk about different people in your organization, really just having kind of more of a personal voice to your social media.
I think
And this works really well on Instagram, particularly.
one thing that you and I had talked about, Emily, was actually designating a person in your organization, but also including some incentive for them. So there's, you know, just saying, oh, this is part of your job now may not be the best way to incentivize people to do it. First of all, you want to find somebody who's knows what they're doing or has an experience with social media too. And Emily and I are going to be looking to do a webinar in the future about this particular topic. So,
and you know,
stay tuned
Pete,
for that.
one of the things that I've noticed one of our clients is doing really well is they're using their social media to show off their customer success. Right? They're going in and they're obviously providing a service for their customer,
Yeah.
but they're showing off their customer success.
Yeah.
And once they flip that switch, all of a sudden their traction and their viral capability is really getting out there, and their influence. And so remember, when you're doing it organic, don't just think you have to make it about you. Encourage your person that you assign or ask or incentivize to make it about them. I love this because, Emily, you've done a good job of coaching so many customers of ours on how to do this.
Yeah, definitely. And I think people, you know, if your happy client is shared on on your social media, they're going to want to share that with their friends and family on their social media page. And it's a great way to get, honestly, it's like getting good reviews, basically, is that you want people to talk about you in a positive way. And yeah, but having a positive outlook on social media and having that authenticity can really help establish some of that brand loyalty that hopefully you're looking for. So the next thing you can do is do some longer videos. So longer videos kind of went away for a while. People have a very short attention span and just are not going to spend time watching long videos. So really, Reels and TikTok have become really popular because they're very short attention span. And these are not going away, but we are seeing that people are willing to watch a couple more minutes at least. So when I say long, I'm saying like 2 to 3 minutes. Keep it still fairly short, but you can start to do some better videos that have a little more to them, I guess I would say, than a reel that would just be a quick one-off type of thing. And these can be used as in your ads, but also in your organic social media, and are a great way to just share something about your company. Again, talking about some of your clients is like a great way to use these videos. Having you interview a client and why they were so happy to work with you, anything like that. But they do need to be produced professionally. That's one of the main points here of these longer videos. They're not like Reels or TikToks that you can do on your own. They do need to have a professional look to them. So I really think you can use them to leverage some of that brand loyalty. And yeah.
A good way to
Making
think
a
about
comeback,
this
so.
in my brain, Emily, that I've had a processing this, is that if you think about one commercial, say you're watching a football game, you think about one commercial, that's a one-off, you know. But if you think about the commercial break, that's that longer amount of time, that 2 to 3 minutes. And trust me, when you're watching 2 to 3 minutes of commercials, it feels long. And so I love that definition if you're thinking about one commercial versus commercial break, is a good way to break that down. All right, our last topic for today, and then we're going to do some Q&A, and I remind you to use the Q&A, and you can start that right now. Let's turn to Pete Wilson to talk about SEO in 2022. What's changing? What's shifting? What do we need to know about the landscape?
Thanks, Chris. Well, first thing I want to talk about is Google Business Profile. So Google My Business, what used to be called Google My Business, which is the profile that is on that is created by Google that you can optimize and manage, is now called Google Business Profile. I used to call it Google My Business Profile, or Google My Business Profile page or something like that. So I think they just sort of shortened it. Google Business Profile is your #1 local search opportunity. So if you have not claimed your Google Business Profile for your business, you absolutely need to do that. That is where your Google reviews reside, and that is where information about your business resides. And one of the things that Google is looking at or has been doing for quite a while now is something called a zero-click Google search. What that means is that somebody searches for something on Google, and Google is trying to present the information that the person's looking for and not requiring the person to click again. So like if you Google the name of a restaurant now, there's a very, pretty deep bit of information that gets served by Google on the page. You may want to click to the menu, but it's got the phone number right there. It's got everything you need. So that is being generated from Google Business Profile. So that is something that's not going away. Zero-click Google searches. It means they're not going to go to your website necessarily if they search for you in particular. So what you can do about it is, again, you can optimize that page. You can claim it first and then optimize it. And the question we have for you today is, when was the last time you updated your Google Business Profile? When was the last time you even looked at it? So
That's a good point.
Google the name of your business and the name of and the city you're in, because that'll make sure that it shows up, and just see how you look on there. That's step one. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question real quick, because I think most of us know what this is, but also some of us don't know. Where does this show up visually when a person's looking?
Yeah, this shows up on if you're on a desktop computer, this shows up on the right side of the screen when you Google the name of a business and the city. So if you did like bizmktg.com, Edmonds, it's that panel that shows up on the right side on a desktop. And then on a mobile device, it usually shows up just right at the very top of the search results. So if I did like, here's a local restaurant, Royal India, for example, this Indian restaurant locally, I'll just do a quick search. I didn't even, I'll just do this there. So I just Googled Royal India, and that's where it shows up. It's right at the top of the search results on my phone. So
and it's connected to the Google Maps as well. It's kind of all integrated.
Yeah, Google Maps, yeah.
Yeah, most of us use those every day. We don't even realize you can claim that, but if you don't claim it, it just sits there. So,
and optimized. So the next thing that's related to that is online reviews. Again, we're talking about SEO, and nothing will help your SEO more than getting a lot of positive reviews for your business, especially on Google. And at the end of the day, like I say here, it's a real differentiator for your business. And all things being equal, let's say that there's two companies doing computer repair, and you Google, computer repair, name of a city, and you see two companies show. Most people are just automatically going to gravitate towards the one with the more reviews, especially if they have a higher positive ranking. So Google rewards businesses with higher rankings as well by giving you better placement in the Google map listings. And one of the things that we have determined is you need to have a plan for online reviews. You can't just let it happen, which is what a lot of businesses have done. We recommend you send a request and that you do request reviews from your customers and you have a system to do that. The best way to do this is ask customers after you've helped them to provide feedback. We actually do offer a service called reviewsof.us. That is a way to make it super easy to get your review link in front of your customers. And then if they have some negative feedback, you can get their feedback and they hopefully won't post it online. We've set up the service so it kind of helps that not happen. And then if they have a positive review, we can take all the positive reviews and we can add it to your website as well. So that is something, the online reviews of us is something that is just more important than ever. And I've been talking about this for 10 years and it just seems like it doesn't go away. It just gets more and more important. So do you have an effective plan for getting consistent reviews online for your business? Last thing I want to talk about is Google Ads. Now, this isn't necessarily SEO. This is where you're actually paying for clicks to your website. But what's happening is AI, artificial intelligence, is changing the game and making Google Ads way more effective. We applied AI or machine learning to Google ad campaigns that we run for some businesses. Within 30 days, we saw a 20 to 25% decrease in the cost per lead that they were paying.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing. And the cool thing is that advanced users can even tie this data into their sales systems and feed that back to Google Ads, and then find a way. So Google will actually just try to target those people who look like the people who already bought from you. So it's a pretty amazing system that you can take advantage of. AI isn't necessarily something we should be afraid of. It's a tool that we can use to be more effective in our investment strategies for Google Ads and advertising. So the question I have for folks is, are you tracking the results of your Google Ads? And specifically, can you say what your cost per lead is? I had a client the other day, new client, an attorney I was just talking to, who manages their own Google Ads, or we're doing it for them now. And I said, what's your cost per lead? And their feedback was, I should know that, right? And they didn't know that. And they were spending a significant amount of money. So if that sounds like you, you should be looking for a way to get your arms around that. So that's what I've got. So Chris, I don't know if we've got some questions that we want to cover.
Yep. And so let's jump in. Here's one that I have. Okay, so Emily, you were saying that experience is really what keeps people with you and really keeps them, set you apart. I'd like to hear from you and Pete specifically, and Kyle, if you want to jump in on this as well. What are the things that chase potential customers off when it comes to social design and SEO? What are the kinds of things that chase people off?
So when it comes to social, just having any kind of like negativity towards your customers, anything like that is a big no. And I'll actually be talking about this next week in our newsletter on some things that you should not be doing on social media. But yeah, that's a big one. Really getting too personal can be not good. So I want you to have a personal look towards your business and talk about people who work in your business and your customers and stuff, but getting really personal. Like, I would never share pictures of my own child on our social media page, like stuff like that. That's just, keep the two separate. Those are two big ones that I see that people are like, oh no.
One thing that I see kind of in keeping with that is no negativity towards your clients. One of the things that we've seen is if somebody gets a negative review, they want to just lash out at the customer. That's such a no-no. I mean, regardless of what they say, you have to think, unless it's just a fake review, then you could just state, we don't know who this person is, it's a fake review.
Right.
But never go negative. ever on a feedback that you would leave on a review that you received, always thank the person for bringing this to their attention, to your attention. And then, you know, you can certainly take the conversation from there, but never go negative. You know, this is the stupidest person I've ever heard of, blah, blah, blah. That's just, it's just bad.
That will chase people off. Okay, Eli has a question. Is it possible to set up Google Ads to target ads to only attorneys and not just the general public? I don't want to target just the general public, but specifically attorneys. How do you do that? How do you target, and how targeted?
That sort of targeting Google Ads, Google Ads in particular, does not necessarily offer that level of targeting for that. It's a great question, by the way. Thanks, Eli, for asking that. That Google Ads doesn't allow you to do that sort of demographic targeting, but there is a platform that does. It's called LinkedIn. And so there are a lot of folks professionally using LinkedIn. So if you're in a business to business scenario where you're trying to attract other businesses to your business, LinkedIn is a strong tool for doing that. So I would recommend LinkedIn before I did anything else.
Okay. Here's another question. Which social media platform should I focus on for posting content? There's so many out there. Emily, what should we be focusing on?
Sure. So Facebook, but really I would focus on Instagram, especially if you provide a non-business to business type of service or
Like
product.
a consumer service.
Like he said, if you provide that, I would do LinkedIn
Emily,
if you're a B2B.
Emily, you're breaking up real bad. So real quick, some of the platforms I know Emily would tell you to focus on are Instagram. Don't feel like you have to become a TikTok perfectionist in order to do business. But TikTok is growing, and it has some advantages and some disadvantages if you're a business. So you just want to know that. If you don't know what stitching is, for example, then you want to know that before you start posting TikToks, because what can go really good on TikTok can also quickly go really not good on TikTok as far as that goes. So keep that in mind. I like Celeste asked this question. She said, hey, how do I set up a consultation in regards to more information on SEO, social media, AI, all of that? How do they set that up, Pete? What's the best way to do it?
Just go to our website, bizmktg.com, and click the big button that says book a consultation, book a meeting. So we'll set up a 30-minute consultation where we'll just kind of figure out what you're looking for, what your needs are, and then we'll give you some suggestions for what might work best for you.
Yeah, one thing that I just want to give a shout out to both Pete, Emily, and Kyle, the whole team at Biz Marketing, is we're not going to sell you something we can't help you with. We're gonna shoot straight with you, just to let you know, because we are here to help you win online. I got a couple of quick other questions real quick. What's the best way to show that I empathize with my clients in website copy? The best way to do that is through story and to be authentic with it. Most business owners, one of the things that motivated you to be in the business you're in are problems that you saw in your own life. And so you're like, oh, I have a solution for this. That solution grew into a business idea that grew into an actual business. So you want to go back and think about what were the problems and struggles you were dealing with that motivated you, and simply share that with them. We're working with one client right now that has incredible experience in a specific athletic arena and is training young upcoming players. And all he had to do is go back and in about 5 sentences tell that story of playing as a high school student, navigating the college process, and then getting into the pros and sharing that story. The younger players are sitting there going, oh, he's been where I've been. And that's what you want to convey.
Yeah.
We know what it's like to be there. What were you going to say, Pete?
Well, yeah, I was going to say it was a bit of an origin story Now, you may not have an origin story that's quite as compelling as this one that we spoke of. In that case, I would look at customer stories and how you sympathized with the client who had an issue. For example, we had a situation that we had 3 clients call us in 1 week asking about if they got this letter in the mail that looked like a bill, and they said, should we pay it? Right. And it just ticked me off. I've got, my own family members own business. I've got a bunch of clients, obviously they own businesses. And so I sympathized with them, and I just got sick and tired of seeing these letters where people are trying to rip off businesses. So I wrote a blog post about it. It went viral, and 30 or 40,000 people have read it so far. But it was a story of just empathizing with these people and just really identifying with this frustration. And if you can convey that, it's kind of what you're talking about, Chris, but in a little more, up-to-date version than just your, origin story, for example.
And our last question for today, and we want to thank you for all the questions, is this one. How should a business respond to negative reviews? How should businesses respond to negative reviews? We've talked to that about that a little bit, but Pete, somebody gets a negative review. What's the number one thing you do? What do you?
The first thing you need to do is get the facts. So don't, and if you have employees involved in a situation, I would approach it very calmly. Just say, hey, this review just showed up, trying to figure out what's going on here. If they name an employee, or that employee might have been involved in that situation. First, I would calmly try to gather all the facts. I would not respond within 24 hours if it's really got you going. You really need to take a deep breath and you have to sleep on it, right? And then I would just say, again, thank you for your feedback. Thank you for calling us to our attention. Here is the situation that we know of. Now, let me step back. There is one other thing you can do. Once you get all the facts, if your business did screw up, and hey, businesses, we all screw up, you should reach out to that client and try to fix it, right? And I've talked to a lot of businesses who have done this, and people have changed their reviews from a super negative to, hey, I had a problem, and these people I reached, I left a review, or, I let them know, and they fixed it. And that's actually more powerful than anything. Any positive review is actually how you deal with negative situations. Then, at the last resort, I would write, thanks for calling us to our attention. The other thing is, if they seem to be anonymous, you could say, thanks for calling us to attention. Would you please contact us directly so we can find out more? Because sometimes if you don't know the username online, that customer may be anonymous to you and you want them to reveal. So you could just say, please contact me directly at the business so we can, find out the details or something like that. But again, go ahead.
You might want to even question on your staff, in your office, in your business, who has the best temperament to engage negative customers, right?
True. Yeah.
Because you may not be, as the owner or as the manager, the best person to respond.
Right.
And you may have somebody who doesn't get worked up. Well, use that strength to help them. Hey, Pete, we got one last question that came in late. Is what's the difference or advantages between like Squarespace and a WordPress site? And do we at Biz Marketing work with clients that have a Squarespace site, et cetera, et cetera? So you want to give a quick.
Sure, we do. So Squarespace is a website building system host. There's definitely some advantages to it. It's really cheap to get started, but you're kind of on your own. You have to build it yourself. At least we're not really Squarespace experts. We focus on WordPress, which is a different type of platform. But if you're just a small business just getting started, it's a great way to get your brand out there. And it works fine. But over time, you will find a couple things with Squarespace. It may not get you the SEO advantages you're looking for, and the designs are kind of cookie cutter. So you end up with a design that looks like others, and it's not unique for you. And some of the functionality may not be there that you're looking for. So if you're just getting started, Squarespace is a great way to go. We recommend it to a lot of folks. But if you've been in business a while and you want more functionality, then I would definitely look at a WordPress site. WordPress is a platform that needs to be hosted and managed by people who know what they're doing. The one thing I would say about Squarespace is you're probably not going to have to deal with hackers much because they've got a whole team of people that do that. But if you're doing WordPress, then you really have to pay attention to where it's hosted and who's actually managing your site, which is something we do for businesses. One thing I do want to jump back to though, Chris, was the reviews. One of the things we do for our clients is we have these conversations. If there's a negative review, I can't tell you how many times we've actually helped businesses respond to negative reviews. So if you're part of our Reviews of Us program, that's included is consulting on responding to negative reviews. Hopefully I answered both questions.
Yeah, you did. You did a really good job. Well, we appreciate you guys spending your lunch hour with us today and hearing about what you need to prepare for in 2022. Biz Marketing is going to be putting together more of these webinars coming up because our goal is to simply help businesses win online. That's what we're all about for our whole team of about 6 or 7. We are a real firm. We are people that have all over the country as well as the world a little bit. We have our SEO specialists in South Africa that we like to know there and administrative support. If we can help you win online, that's what we're all about. So thanks for joining us today. We appreciate Kyle, all the design work tips, and Emily with the social media, Pete with the SEO, and we appreciate especially all of those attending.
And Goldman, thank you for moderating today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, it's good. Blessings
Thanks, everybody.